Fundraising involves relationships. What about relationships with charitable foundations? Hi, I'm Bill Stanczykiewicz. This is the first day from the fundraising school, and we're exploring that question today with Jeff Small. He's a senior program officer at the Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust, headquartered in both Indianapolis and Phoenix. And Jeff also is an alum of our master's program, and that's something you can learn about on our website if you're interested in a master's degree in philanthropic studies. But today we're talking about fundraising from foundations, and there's a unique power dynamic as fundraisers approach program officers, and Jeff's going to help us understand that here today. First of all, Jeff, what is the Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust, and what's your role at that foundation?
So the Nina Mason Pulliam Charitable Trust is the legacy of Nina Mason Pulliam, who was a newspaper executive here in Indianapolis and in Phoenix. The Central Newspapers was their company, and she and her husband Gene owned a few dozen newspapers over the course of their relationship, and the chief among them were the morning and evening papers in Indianapolis and in Phoenix. That's where much of their wealth was generated. So when Nina died, she did not have any heirs, and she died after Gene, and she made the decision to leave her wealth behind to benefit the two communities that she called home, Indianapolis and Phoenix. So we have assets of about 360 to 380 million, depending on the market,
right.
And annually give around $15 million a year, split evenly between those two communities. Our giving areas are essentially three large buckets, the largest of which is helping people in need. Our dollars in that area are focused on mainly on assisting women, children, and families, improving their self-sufficiency and moving them forward on the spectrum of taking care of themselves and their families. Nina was also a lover of the environment and animals. Those are also charitable priorities for us. We are a leading funder in both cities in animal welfare, and among the largest consistent funders in both states of environmental conservation and environmental causes as well. So those are our larger areas. We do give to improve civic vitality, enrich community life as well, but that's a much smaller portion of our portfolio. But we do occasionally get involved in cultural campaigns and just efforts to improve the vitality of our hometowns.
So we know that according to Giving USA, about 15% of charitable giving comes from foundations, and so as fundraisers, we're looking for that right foundation that can help fund our organization's wonderful mission. Jeff, as the fundraisers develop a relationship with you and your colleague, you have over $300 million in the bank, and I probably don't. That affects our relationship. There can be this awkward power dynamic as a fundraiser approaches a foundation. What advice do you have for fundraisers in that regard?
So I think, I've thought most about this in the area of foundation fundraising, but I think it translates to a lot of fundraising relationships. And when in the traditional sense and understanding of the approaching a foundation, a lot of times grant writers or fundraisers of various types approach it with a mindset of need. I'm coming because I'm in need and they have something. They have something that I need. And I think when we do that, when we think of it that way or purely in that way, it creates an imbalance that leads to not a healthy relationship between the two. And I tend to think about all fundraising as relationship based, and foundations are no different. Even though we have policies and procedures and applications to fill out and specific questions to ask, it still relies on the trust built between people. In at least in my portion of the foundation world, there are those foundations where all that they'll ever see is your written application, and that's slightly different. But I think the principles still apply that you have to realize that you have something that foundations need.
And because fundraisers do often have this feeling, I have a need, you can meet that need with the funding, are fundraisers sometimes intimidated
Absolutely,
when they meet with
yeah.
foundation officers? And why shouldn't they be?
Yeah, I think they do feel an intimidation. They feel a pressure, and I don't want to downplay the pressure that a fundraiser feels for their cause, for the employees
Right.
that they work with. It's immense. But what they shouldn't feel is somehow lesser than the foundation, or that there are things that they need to conceal, or that they should play a certain role in coming to the foundation. This should be a conversation between peers. You have something that I desperately need, which is expertise, access to, be it an area if it's an environmental grant, or a population if it's a helping people in need grant. I don't have staff. I don't have a facility. I can't go out and feed people effectively, efficiently. I'm not connected to the service. I don't have the same level of responsive day-to-day knowledge that you have as a frontline professional. That's what you're bringing to the table. You have all these things, and it really is an exchange. It's not a one-way. We talk about with individual donors, they're getting that warm glow.
Right.
They're getting that, I have statutorily things that I need. I need to distribute this money.
Right, at least 5%.
At least 5% needs to go for charitable purposes, and I by law I need you. So you need to understand. I may be a conduit to a large stack of money, but you are a conduit as well to something that all program officers desperately need. Maybe not every program officer needs what you have, but you do have assets. You do have strengths that you're bringing to the table.
Our founder, Dr. Henry Rosso, talked about fundraising with confidence and not fundraising with apology. And Jeff, I'm hearing you say that fundraisers can approach foundations with a win-win type of a mentality. That certainly I do have a mission that does have a financial need, but at the same time, I'm providing you with information. I'm helping you see what we do. You're learning from us just as much as we're benefiting from you. We're helping you accomplish your philanthropic mission. And oh, by the way, there's also this legal requirement. So it sounds like for all of those reasons, as a fundraiser, I can approach you with confidence. I still might hear no, but I don't have to feel this intimidation. Is that correct?
Yeah, and I think as a fundraiser, when you start to work from that position of equality and confidence, you're less apt to make some of the real cardinal sins in relationships. You're more likely to be authentic and explain all the nuances and aspects of the project that you have in mind, and not gloss over maybe some of the things that you haven't figured out, or that you haven't completely solved yet. And ultimately, that's going to build a long-term relationship. Whereas, if you come in and try to say just the right things and only say what you think I want to hear, once the rubber meets the road and we're partners implementing a program, I'm going to see the things that you didn't want to show me, and that's going to put a strain on you. It's going to put a strain on the relationship if it ultimately doesn't go the way that that you had hoped, or if I, as the program officer, feel like you pulled one over on me. That's a short-term win. That's not a long-term relationship that'll continue to expand and grow your mission. So. I think if you have that confidence, if you come in understanding that this is an exchange and everyone's going to leave better off, you're more likely to be authentic. You're more likely to give me a good understanding of what you're doing, and that's going to give me the information I need to know whether I'd be a good partner for you.
We know that fundraising should not be transactional. It needs to be transformational. And what that means is this is a win-win opportunity, not just for the fundraiser, but also for the individual donor as he or she expresses their personal motivations, which are numerous, for making the charitable gift. As Jeff has helped us understand, the exact same is true for foundations. They have a philanthropic mission that they want to accomplish. They want to learn from you and the good work that you're doing. We need to be transparent up front. We need to do our homework to make sure we're approaching the correct foundations, Jeff only funds primarily in Indianapolis and Phoenix in those three areas. Don't contact him if you're not in that category, right? And it's the same for the other 80,000 plus foundations across the country. But if we've done our homework well and we are transparent, we can look for that win-win relationship and not feel intimidated when we're approaching foundations for charitable support. You can learn more about this in our classes that we offer through the Fundraising School, which are available on our website. We also have our webinars that are quarterly. We can have custom training that we bring directly to you, and you can also follow us on numerous social media sites like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I'm Bill Stanczykiewicz, and you are now fully informed on this first day from the Fundraising School.